I feel good tonight. What's good, everybody? Welcome into Prime Time Early Edge. Every single primetime game this NFL season, we will be here breaking you down at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, before I bring in the best handicappers and one of the best former coaches in America, I got to tell you this. A lot of you, well, not a lot of you, because we had a huge number this morning, but many of you missed my big announcement at noon today. Moving forward, every single Early Edge show, could not be more proud. See that little thing up there in the corner? Presented by BetMGM, the king of all sports books. All of our lines that you hear will be from BetMGM. We're going to be doing a bunch of fun things. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we are very, very excited. Welcome to BetMGM, the presenter of the Early Edge. But as always, we're still powered by the almighty SportsLine, the best value in all sports betting. And it's not close. We had a banger of the day, so let's bring in the stars of the show. Cowboys-Giants tonight, Sunday Night Football, and look what I have for you. An absolute embarrassment of riches. Quickly, 10 seconds, let's go around, and I need each one of you to tell me your biggest storyline from today. Counselor, start with you.
Well, you know, the NFL is really interesting from a parity standpoint. I think there's a lot of teams where we thought, hey, this team's going to be really bad, but Arizona challenged the Commanders in that great defense. The Rams beat the Seahawks. I know a lot of people are high on the Seahawks. The Raiders beating the Broncos. I mean, this is just one of those leagues where there is no really horrific team. So it's something to keep in mind when we're looking at lines week 2, week 3, and so on.
All right, Proppy, talk to me.
Yeah, the game with the highest total, which was the Chargers and the Dolphins, certainly living up to that billing. These teams met late last season, also had a very high total. That game turned out to be a clunker. Not the case today. Fireworks from both sides. Both of these are excellent offenses. It's great to see Tua back as well, throwing for over 400 yards.
Yeah, Tua over 400 yards, Tyreek Hill over 200 yards, 36-34. Miami just missed the extra point, so 134 to go in that game. The Eagles try to salt it away, but the Patriots have the ball inside Eagles territory, down 5, so we'll keep an eye on that. Maestro, welcome back to Primetime Early Edge. What's your big storyline today?
Oh, it's great to be with you guys. I mean, aside from the 49ers' dominance, which was very impressive, it's got to be the Browns front four. They got help from Myles Garrett. They had 10 hits on Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow completed less than 50% of his passes, didn't even throw for 100 yards. That Cleveland defense looks fearsome, and so did Deshaun Watson. He looked good running the ball.
AB, bring to me.
Yeah, all offseason, we spoke about the Tennessee Titans and to be careful and not get too excited about them, and we saw it today. Offensive line, horrible. Wide receiver crew, horrible. But that defense is legit, and they might not win games, but they'll certainly cover them, man, because they don't give up a lot of points.
Justin Herbert just went down. It'll be 3rd and long. And I saved this man for the end because the last NFL job he had was with the Chargers, who was on the field right now. Phil McKagan, let's bring you in. Your biggest storyline today, sir.
Yeah, I thought today was an interesting day because it's a lot of time guys are getting the first snaps of the season. They sit a lot of preseason games. They don't play much anymore. So I thought there was some sloppy play, to be honest. But it was, like the Maestro said, I was really excited to see Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, that 49ers offense. They looked awesome today. That was a highlight of my morning.
All right, so 3rd and 30 for the Chargers as we'll keep an eye on that and also on the Eagles game. Now, if you missed us Thursday night, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do our best bets, and then we're going to go to Phil when it comes to X's and O's because we're trying to make you the smartest sports bettor that we possibly can that will then feed into potentially other picks. So, gentlemen, are we all ready to get started? Let's get started. Cowboys laying 3.5 tonight. The total at 44.5, that line courtesy of our brand new partners at BetMGM. See, Najad, I'm coming to you first because you like a side on here. And so far, you are 3-0 and looking to make it 4-0 tonight.
Yeah, let's make it 4-0 with the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, I think this is a case of, listen, the Giants are an emerging team, but when they play elite teams, we saw what happened when they played the Eagles last year. And I don't think that's a lot. I don't think we're super far removed from that game last season in the playoffs. I think this Dallas team is really good. They added Stephon Gilmore on the defensive side. It's just a frenetic defense. They're going to get to Daniel Jones. And when they do, when we saw Daniel Jones last year against the Cowboys, he wasn't very good dealing with the pressure. Dak, on the other hand, has been good dealing with the Giants' pressure specifically. And we know they're going to bring the pressure. They're going to bring the blitzes under Wink Martindale. They're going to play some man coverage. And we have really good receivers challenging rookie cornerbacks. It's going to be a bloodbath, I think, when the Cowboys throw the ball. And oh, by the way, don't forget about Tony Pollard. I like the Cowboys minus 3.5.
All right. Would you buy the half a points? Probably. I mean, my book actually has the game at 3 right now, so there's some threes floating out there. Would you mind buying it down to 3?
Yeah, I mean, I would do that, especially considering a lot of the numbers you're getting on the 3.5. It's like minus 102, minus 105. So buying that half a point isn't going to cost you much from a juice standpoint. Yeah, I really like taking it down. At least you're playing the push on that key number of 3.
All right, quick update. Miami Dolphins defense got it done. They stopped the Chargers. It is over. The Miami Dolphins going to go on the road. Huge win in week number 1 for Tua and that team in a very, very difficult division, the AFC East. Now, the Patriots have 3rd and 13, 51 seconds to go inside of the Eagles' 20. So that might be the biggest upset of the week if they can score a touchdown right here. Phil, let me come to you, because based off what Sia just said, you believe that Dak and Mike McCarthy have a lot to prove starting tonight. Talk to me.
Yeah, I didn't see the final totals of what Kellen just put up in Charger land, but I'm sure it was pretty good. So I know Mike real well. Mike was the coordinator when I was a member of the New Orleans Saints a long time ago. I know him as a super competitive guy who wants to get the ball out quick. So I'm thinking CeeDee Lamb getting the football, also running the ball 20-plus carries, and also looking to get Pollard the ball as a receiver too on some Texas, some angle routes down the red zone in particular. Love the play action passes, especially going down the field to Cooks. I can see that happening. He loves to run the ball, then play action pass with some deep in-breaking routes where CeeDee Lamb will be effective. So obviously, you know, Mike McCarthy is a great designer of football plays. He's a heck of a dude. I love him to death. But, you know, it's national TV, and he's going to have to go out there and execute, has the first 15. He's ready to roll.
All right, a quick update from the Eagles-Patriots game. They're going to it was 4th and 11. They completed the pass down to the 8, but I don't think he got 2 feet in. They're running it right now. Oh, no, that's not going to be a catch. The Eagles are going to hang on and win by 5. What was the number?
3.5.
4.5? That's not going to be a catch. I'll update it in a second. That's not going to be a catch. That's not going to be a catch. All right, Proppy, let me come back to you, because on the Giants side of the football, as I was doing my research, I'm looking at all the names that we have to choose from. I'm like, 2.5, 20. I'm like, there's nobody, it seems like, on this side of the ball. But is there? Who do you like?
Yeah, there's quite a few new names looking at this Giants passing offense. But yeah, I'm taking a shot at Isaiah Hodgins over 30.5 receiving yards. He was a rookie last season. He was acquired, I believe, around week 9 by the Giants, played the final 8 games with the Giants, became Daniel Jones's favorite target. He had at least 31 yards in 7 of the 8 appearances when he was a member of the Giants. I think he's going to remain Daniel Jones' favorite target, despite acquiring Daniel Waller in the offseason, obviously to be their new starting tight end. But I think Hodgins has minimal competition when we're looking at outside receiver. The Giants basically have a lot of receivers who are comfortable playing in the slot. Not a lot of competition as far as outside wide receivers are concerned. So I expected this number to be closer to 40 yards. I know the Cowboys have a strong pass defense, but Hodgins will be in on all 2 wide receiver sets, has a lot of comfort and familiarity with Daniel Jones. I think this is a really good spot to take him over 30.5 yards.
Certainly. If you think there's 10 yards of value, I'm listening. And by the way, I just listened to the referee. By the way, the referee in the Eagles game, he lives 10 minutes from me. But incomplete pass. The game is over. The Eagles cover. They cover the 4.5 and win by 5. It's crazy how that works. Now, Phil, let me come back to you. You heard everything that Proppy just said, including that magical name, Darren Waller. Talk to me about game plan on the Giants side.
Yeah, so that's interesting. That predicates to the corners right off the bat. You got those 2 really, really good corners, you know, Trayvon Diggs, Stephon Gilmore. That's like the no-fly zone for real, AB. All right, but we got to talk about, so what does that mean? It means that you have to rely on Waller. He's so good. The only question for me is, will the hamstring hold up? Assuming it does, I expect high targets for Darren Waller.
All right. Well, we've got a lot of plays, and we've got a lot of props. We've got a lot of sides. But here's what we're going to do. I told you we're going to do a lot of fun things. We're not doing anything fishy. It's going to be straightforward, and it's going to be just so you like it. So BetMGM wants you to play with them. So here's what we're going to do. For all new subscribers, new players, whatever you want to call it, all you got to do is bet $10, and they're going to throw $200 into your thing. Now, just place your first wager, at least $10, and you'll receive $200. Use a promo code EDGE200. That's EDGE200. A bet anything. You don't have to win it. You don't have to lose it. Nothing. We'll give you $200 free. Just go play with it and place all of your bets. Now, AB, let me come to you because I know the fly zone or the no-fly zone is in effect tonight. Enlighten us, big boy. Enlighten us.
Yes, sir, it is, right? And Phil, look, I want your thoughts right after it too, right? Because look, you're a former NFL wide receiver, you're a former NFL coach, college coach, all of it. Here's the problem for both quarterbacks. We're taking both of them to throw an interception. Snake, go ahead and hit me with whoever you got first. We'll go break down whichever one you throw first. Dak Prescott. All right, So take a look here. You're going to see a theme between both quarterbacks. The middle of the field is danger for both of them, all right? If they're hitting on the left-hand side, right-hand side, generally pretty good. Now, Dak Prescott, there's some trouble there. Short right, short left. People can jump some routes. Then again, I don't know how much cover zero man press is going to be involved tonight, but he has to watch out for that. But again, this is going to be a race and kind of a competition to see which defense can funnel passes over the middle. If you've never seen the no-fly zone before, the left-hand side, you see the Giants' secondary completion ranks across the NFL from 2022. Really, really good. All right. You see Dak Prescott, good areas, bad areas, middle of the field. All right. 80% of his interceptions last year were in the first half. 60% of his interceptions were on his own 21 to 50-yard line. So that's what he has to watch out for. We're going to take him to throw at least one interception at -110. Now, hit me with Daniel Jones. It's a little bit different, but it's kind of the same in regards to the middle of the field, especially deep. All right. You see 82.8% behind the line of scrimmage. Not too terribly worried about that. But if the Cowboys can funnel those passes to the middle of the field, specifically deep, there's going to be trouble. And then Phil just mentioned it. You got some bad dudes on the corners for Dallas. And the biggest thing, Dallas's pass rush. All right. It can get after him and hurry this thing up. If you're not ready to cut routes short and be on time, buddy, it's going to be trouble.
All right, hang on. I know you got two more plays. We'll come back to you, AB. But Phil, your thoughts on the no-fly zone tonight?
Yeah, that was really good stuff. I mean, just thinking about the defensive coordinators. Okay, I mean, I talked about Dak Prescott. You're looking at Wink Martindale. You know, this guy's known for the most exotic fronts, 6 up, bringing all 6 cover 0 like you alluded to, or dropping them back, playing coverage. You know, Dak needs to get the ball out quick because they're going to bring pressure if they don't, or do they have too many weapons they want to play back? So it's a super interesting matchup. I could see that happening. That's really a cool graphic. Moving to Daniel Jones against the Cowboys, it's again, to me, Micah Parsons bringing that pass rush. That's the first thing I'm looking at. And if you're under duress and you throw a ball late or you underthrow one a little tiny bit versus these corners that's going the other way, they're terrifying.
Maestro, let me come to you because you have one very simple play, but I think it also speaks volumes on how difficult it might be for one side of the football tonight. Talk to me.
Well, that Cowboys pass rush is for real, and Daniel Jones is not going to have a lot of time, which means Darius Slayton, who runs a lot of deep routes, and now there are so many guys ahead of him in the pecking order or alongside of him when you talk about Waller and Paris Campbell and Hodgins, that Alex, and Jalen Hyatt, another speedster that they drafted. Oh, yeah, and the offense runs through Saquon Barkley. So even though this guy led the team in receiving, 730 yards last season, only averaged, 2.8 catches per game. So under 2.5, plus 125 at MGM is a play I really like just because it's a very crowded target tree. And I will say one thing about Sia's play on the Cowboys. I don't, disagree with anything he said, but I will point out home divisional dogs since 2010, 21-5 against the number, covering by 8 points a game.
Very, very interesting. I will ask you just
in week one, in week one.
In week one, of course. Do you guys want to do the work? AB, I'm coming back to you. You got 2 more plays, and I love your last one. Your last one tells me that you kind of like the over potentially. You're up again.
Yeah, I like some scoring in this game tonight. Now, the first one we're going to go to, all right, we just spoke about Daniel Jones not having a lot of time. We're going to take Giants wide receiver Jalen Hyatt over 19.5 receiving yards. He is a rookie. This is his first game in the NFL. Played at Tennessee. If you want to know how good he is, ask Nick Saban. Against Alabama last year, went for 200-plus yards and 5 tutties. This dude is faster than anybody on the field tonight. I'm not kidding. And what made him so good with Hendon Hooker is that he can cut routes short. He knows exactly where his quarterback's mind and thoughts are. So when you don't have a lot of time, he can cut those routes down from 7-5, right? Even hit you on some hitch routes and go. Not to mention, if you want a 9 route, this dude, I'm telling you, is faster than anybody that is going to be in the secondary. He can fly. He can catch. Jalen Hyatt getting a really low number because books don't know what to do with him. Now, second one, Cowboys-Giants. Let's have a fun bet tonight. Both teams to score 20 points or more, plus 135. I think the Cowboys offense could get there. I think the Giants offense could get there. It's all going to come down to turnovers, and turnovers can help us, especially when it leaves the other side nicely on their side. So there we go.
I like it a lot. Stan in the chat says, Coach, great show. We may not win them all, but it feels so good to have the tools to make the choice. Thank you, guys. Now, I'm going to come to Phil. I've got to come to all of you. We've got a lot of other props that we can hit on tonight, but I'm so glad he said tools because we have a brand new tool at SportsLine that is going to be a game changer when it comes to prop betting. It's called SportsLine AI. Snake, go ahead and throw up the top 3 from the model tonight. Tony Pollard over 68.5. That would be his rushing total. It's gone down, actually. Saquon Barkley, under 14.5. That's the model. And then under 34.5. You see the projections below it. All right. So, Sia, let me come to you first. Then, Proppy, I'm coming to you. Phil, then I'm coming to you. Let's talk about these running backs. Let's start with Tony Pollard, Sia. I had 71.5, but now it's 68.5 at BetMGM. The combo number is 95.5. What do you think about Tony Pollard? Because Zeke is gone now.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, right? I mean, that's why I would want to take the over of 68.5. I mean, you do have to exercise caution when it goes down from 71.5 to 68.5. I got to be honest, even though this is a Mike McCarthy led offense from a play calling standpoint, I do think a lot of the Cowboys' damage is going to be done with the pass. I would also agree that Dak might get picked off, but I think CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks, I think that's where you're going to find a lot of the open areas here. Now, it's Tony Pollard without Zeke, so both of these things can be true. Dak can have a big game, CeeDee Lamb can have a big game, and Pollard can have a big game. So if I'm going to lean anywhere, it's the over of 68.5 rushing yards.
Okay, let's go to the other side. Proppy, Saquon Barkley around 65 for his number, minus 140, a little juicy. His combo number is around 92. What do you make of Saquon tonight?
Yeah, I tend to lean over regarding Saquon. Obviously, he's a big play waiting to happen. He can pick up chunk yardage. Just kind of depends on how much the Giants decide to run the football. I do think because of the strength of this Cowboys secondary, we might see the Giants establish the run tonight with a lot of Saquon. So as long as he gets 15 to 17 carries, I do think it's a great shot to go over. So I do like it for him.
From a coaching perspective, Phil, talk to me on both guys. Does it have to be the Tony Pollard show?
Yeah, so the first one, I have to agree with Proppy. Just when you go into these game plan meetings and you're talking about 2 great corners in a pass rush and you have a great back like Saquon, you're going to feed him. You're going to feed the big horse. You're going to feed him often. So that takes the pass rush out of it. That takes the corners out of it. They don't want to tackle anybody. We all know that. So at the end of the day, Saquon is going to be a huge variable for the success of the New York Giants. Moving over to Pollard, I do believe it's going to be the Pollard show tonight because he always was in Zeke's shadow, even though he was kind of a better player over the last 2 years, but nobody wanted to say it in the building. Now that Zeke's with the Patriots and he's there, he is an NFL high 5.9 yards per touch last year. I mean, why would you not get him the football? He's versatile. He's speed and space. I expect 20-plus carries and, again, receptions, designed, and even on some checkdowns can get you some points and get you some yards.
All right, I would encourage you to go BetMGM. Look at the rushing attempts. Listen to what our experts talk about. Maestro, I'm coming to you next because you heard Counselor talk about CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks. Well, let's talk about their numbers for a second. 5.5 for CeeDee Lamb, 3.5 for Brandon Cooks. Now, CeeDee Lamb is juiced heavy, around minus 160. 71.5 is his yards, and Brandon Cooks is around 45.5. Do you like either one of those guys?
I like CeeDee Lamb, the alpha in this game and in this matchup, but I think we're seeing some of these totals deflate a little bit because of the weather. I am not too far from the stadium here, and I can tell you it has been nasty all day with rain and thunder, and the forecast is for more rain tonight. So I think that's why we're seeing some of these prop numbers dip, as the chat has mentioned.
All right, and I believe they're talking about a boost at BetMGM, I'm assuming. By the way, if you're going to type something in the chat on a boost, only type if it's BetMGM because that's the only ones I'm going to read. So I'm assuming it is Pollard and Barkley, AB, to each score a touchdown tonight. It's plus 300. Would you like that?
All right, so I'm fascinated with the AI prop model that it put up that, Saquon's going to be under in carries. Daniel Jones is going to be under in rushing yards. Who's going to run the football? Are they throwing it the entire game? And then on Dallas' side, I'm fascinated that the one thing that Ezekiel Elliott was better than almost anybody in the NFL was pass pro. right? He's a phenomenal pass protection running back. I'm fascinated to see how that goes. But if you had to ask me who's going to score a touchdown, I mean, I don't hate either. Tony Pollard might take one to the house, though. He's got that explosive capability that Phil mentioned. This guy can go. Not that Saquon can't, but, dude, Pollard, he can bust one quick on you.
Okay. By the way, yeah, go Phil. Go.
Maestro, if the weather is an issue, like you're saying, that's a factor. As a coach, you're getting this information as the kickoff is happening. And we've had, lake effect snow happen in Buffalo, different things like that. Mother Nature's undefeated. So, if that's the truth, we have to be wary about some of these passing yards.
Okay. Very, very smart. Now, my girl Rebecca, she's also smart, Phil. You're gonna learn things from Rebecca. I promise you will. She says, anybody like Ferguson to shine at all? He looked pretty good in the preseason game. So his number is over 2.5 minus 136, over 24.5 minus around 118. Council, let me come to you first, and then Phil, you enlighten me because I don't know anything about this cat. Do you see it?
I mean, I do. Now that Dalton Schultz is gone, I mean, he is the primary guy. It's not going to be Hendershot or anybody like that. It will be Ferguson. I like the receptions prop. I wouldn't take his yardage because I think we're going to see some stuff underneath. I think the guys that are going to be down the field are going to be CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks. But the over 2.5, I don't think the juice is prohibitive. It's not a play I'm in love with, but I do expect him to get 3 catches.
Phil, educate the people at home on Mr. Ferguson.
So I think it's just supposed to be about the tight end usage, right? I mean, that's just a staple of the West Coast offense. So it's always good with even though 12 personnel, which means 2 tight ends are in the game. There's going to be a bunch of that in there tonight. So I think it's a good idea.
Okay, very, very good. Probably let me come back to you because you already talked about Darren Waller and you like Isaiah Hodges. We're fading Darius Slay. So is there anybody else in the lab that you looked at and said potentially they could have a big game tonight?
I did want to hit on Ferguson really quickly. I'm interested to see how these touches are allocated, how these targets outside of CeeDee Lamb, where they go to. When Kellen Moore was the offensive coordinator, it was a very tight end friendly offense. Now Brian Schottenheimer taking over, and Mike McCarthy will be calling the plays. But I am interested to see with a trio of wide receivers. We obviously know CeeDee Lamb, then Michael Gallup, Brandon Cooks. Are there going to be enough targets for Ferguson to essentially become a viable option there? But I do like him. He looked good in the preseason, looked good when Dalton Schultz was injured at times, playing behind him as well last season. So I actually do like him quite a bit. I like him over 2.5 receptions as well.
God, so much great information. Hopefully you got your paper and you got your pencil. By the way, there will not be a goose tonight. Before I hear you go, oh, Coach, what? We've got to set it up. We've got a brand new partner. So we've got to set it up, and we're going to do great ones, just not tonight. This kind of sprung on us. They said, hey, we want to be a part of Sunday. We said, okay. There won't be a goose tonight, but there will be one moving forward. Sorry, Proppy. I apologize for that. Now, the 2 things we haven't talked about really when it comes to numbers, Maestro, is, and then I'm coming to you, AB, is the quarterbacks. The quarterbacks. We talked about the no-fly zone, but what about their numbers? Let's focus, Maestro, with you on their yardage. Around 240 and around 215 for Daniel Jones. Do you think either guy will have a really big game, or would you fade one of those 2 numbers?
I think Daniel Jones could potentially go under this. I think they are going to run the ball a lot, especially with Daniel Jones. I mean, that is one of the most effective parts of this offense. And, Coach talked about the corners that he has to deal with on the Cowboys. So if any of these guys, I would be leaning under on Daniel Jones.
I'm so glad you mentioned his rushing total because, AB, let me come to you. It's been hovering between 30 and 35 all day. We cashed him a lot last season. We really did. He got sometimes up in the high 40s, early 50s in some games. Tonight, what do you think?
Yeah, it's not bad, especially if you have a pass rush coming, right, from your ends coming on the outside. Not only Saquon Barkley and designed, draw plays, but him, Daniel Jones himself, like coming out of the pocket, going right up the middle. Yeah, it could take, a little bit of volume in terms of his rushes to get there because that can be a large number. But Daniel Jones is pretty athletic, man. And especially in a game where if we do have some weather and we do have a defense as good as Dallas's, you really don't want to make that big mistake. So what we saw with Patrick Mahomes, right, with no Travis Kelce, 1st down, 3rd down, all right, he used his legs, man. Like we could see the same thing with Daniel Jones because it's kind of give all you got, dude, and go. So, yeah, I don't love it, but I would like it way more than where Dak's number is. And look, somebody's going to have to run the ball. So I saw those prop models, like somebody's going to have to do it. Yeah, he's going to take some from him.
Dax is 13.5. Phil, from a game planning standpoint, would you call plays for Daniel Jones to run tonight with this weather?
Yeah, so I think in particular, Brian Daboll, I mean, he was with Josh Allen early in his career, all the way up to 2 years ago, obviously, when he got the head coaching job with the Giants. He's a great architect of these quarterback runs, in particular down in the red zone. I love everything that Daboll does as far as designing plays and interesting quarterback counters and some of the different bootlegs, and he gives them like the run pass options, and just some of the things that he's able to do with Daniel Jones. So I definitely think that that's going to be a key element to the Giants offense tonight.
All right. We are
Coach, can I jump in real quick?
Of course,
Go.
go.
All right,
Yes.
So Phil, exactly what he just said. The red zone, 100%, especially with Daniel Jones, because you want to protect the ball and you want to score because every touchdown matters. I thought that was a great point. You might want to look at Daniel Jones anytime touchdown there. Also, if you are worried about the weather, if you are worried about defenses and not really being able to matriculate down the field, total punts over 8.5. I think we had 37 in the Eagles-Patriots game today. Take a look at it for sure.
All right. Coming up in about 3 minutes, we're going to do our gym picks, and then we'll recap our best bets and then get the hell out of Dodge. The game starts 5 minutes earlier than on Thursdays on Sunday nights. But, Zia, let me come to you because there's a number that just kind of it's just jumping off the screen to me, and that's Dak Prescott over 1.5 passing touchdowns at -114. I think he has 2 or more tonight. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he does too. I mean, the weather has me a little nervous, obviously, but yeah, I think this is going to be one of those cases where Dak gets to line up against rookie cornerbacks. I mean, I just don't. I don't know how you don't try to expose the secondary, which is super, super young, especially when you acquired Brandon Cooks. You have a decent tight end in Ferguson. You have CeeDee Lamb, and you have Pollard who can catch touchdown passes as well. It's not something I'm betting, but now that you bring it up, it does seem like Dak is good for 2 touchdowns today.
All right, Proppy, I'm coming to you, and then we're going to hit the top of the hour, and we've got some drama that I got to deal with. The top of the hour. But before we get to that, let me come back to you, Proppy, because on the other side, the other day we cashed attempts, we cashed completions, and these are sometimes they fall through the cracks. So Dak is 32.5 and 21.5, and Daniel is 31.5 and 20.5. What's the lab telling you?
I like Dak's completions over 21.5. I do think this Cowboys team is going to air the ball out a lot. They have a very good trio of wide receivers. I think without Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard can only handle so many touches as a running back, as a featured running back. So I do think this Cowboys team is going to be a lot more pass friendly. That's kind of been the sentiment throughout the offseason as well. I'm a little trepidatious because of Mike McCarthy. He's notorious for being a conservative coach, doesn't tend to air the ball out a ton, not necessarily known for kind of having the most high-volume passing offenses, but just looking at this personnel group, looking at Dak after last season, it was a down year. I think he's going to have a much better season this year. He's got much more talent as far as his wide receiver group is concerned. Michael Gallup can step up. That's a very good trio of wide receivers. So I do think we're going to see Dak air the ball out a lot more tonight. So I like both his attempts over, but I especially like the completions because I think he can be very efficient throwing the football.
All right. I like that a lot. We have just crossed the top of the hour, 8 o'clock in the East, 5 o'clock out here in the West. This is the Early Edge Prime Time presented. Oh, it feels so good. By BetMGM, the king of all sports books. Now, we had some drama the other day, and I want to address it right here, right now, because we have this little something that even though we're grown men, we take some stupid stuff very, very seriously. And when you get into the club, there is nothing we like to brag about more. So we like to throw the picks in early, and then sometimes the numbers change. So I made an executive decision, and I made Sia change his pick. And then the first touchdown of the year is scored, and it just happened to be the name that Sia had picked originally. Amon St. Brown, whatever his name is.
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Thank you, Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's why I have you. Thank you. So, Sia, I'm going to let you go first. Have you gotten past the fact that you literally had the doorman letting you into the club? Then he said, "Is this a fake
ID? You're gone."
Your thoughts, sir?
Well, I mean, we've been talking a lot about BetMGM, who had him at plus 1,200. Other books had him at plus 1,000. But listen, here's the thing. When you're the three-time champ, people are going to try to use all efforts possible to keep you out of the club, especially on game one. Do you understand how bad the early edge universe would have felt if me, of all people, me or Proppy, because we're the only three-time champs, had gotten into the club immediately? Listen, that's just not something that's acceptable. So am I over it? Of course I'm over it. I knew you guys were going to plan something to keep me out of the club. So here's what I'll do. I'll pick a guy tonight, and he'll be your first touchdown scorer. And oh, by the way, you want to know who that is? Well, Phil brought him up at the top. It's Brandon Cooks. When you get Trey Hawkins on the outside, you get Deonte Banks, who I like, by the way. Deonte Banks out of Maryland, I believe, and Trey Hawkins out of ODU. Now you're dealing with Brandon Cooks and CeeDee Lamb and company, and I could see a scenario where Brandon Cooks gets deep early and they try to maybe just kind of loosen that defense up a little bit and make sure they don't key in on Pollard, maybe a couple bombs early. One of them's going to the veteran, underappreciated veteran, Brandon Cooks. He'll be your first touchdown scorer, and I'll hit the first touchdown not once this season, but actually twice. We'll only count it once because, again, conspiracy. C-O-N-spiracy. But either way, Brandon Cooks plus 1,300. Let's go.
Hill to top said coach got bribed. C is the GOAT, says another one. Still a lot of controversy, a lot. And I hate the fact that he's one of the greatest trash talkers of all time. It grinds on me. It grinds on me. The little, I'm the only three-time champion. Proppy, are you offended that he would say that?
He mentioned me too, so I got to give kudos to Cousin Sia.
He said his name first.
That's because I did it first. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Fair enough.
Proppy, who do you like?
Yeah, I'm going to go Jake Ferguson at 17-1 odds here. Dak Prescott, his favorite red zone target for probably the last 3 or 4 seasons has been Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz signed a deal with the Houston Texans in the offseason, vacating the position, and now Jake Ferguson sits atop the depth chart. So, yeah, I've been encouraged by what I saw. I thought he played well last season, flashed a little bit in the preseason as well. He's got the job to himself. And again, Dak loves featuring the tight end in the red zone. So I think he's a good bet here at 17-1 odds.
I think you should invite Rebecca into the chat or into the club if Jake Ferguson hits tonight.
I will, because I'm going to have so many additional passes to give out when I go 4 to 5 times this season.
Oh my God, it drives me insane. Rebecca says, all right, Proppy, exclamation point. Everybody's got your back, and Sia's back. I hate it. I absolutely despise it.
Rebecca, you're in.
Maestro, who do you like?
Well, I know for sure I'm not going to forget how many times Alex and Proppy and Sia have been to the club because they always keep talking about it. But I'm going to the club tonight with Darren Waller. I mean, this is obvious. Ever since they traded for him, the connection, everything they talk about, Daniel Jones to Darren Waller, they played a preseason drive together. Daniel Jones threw 9 times, 4 of them to Darren Waller, completed 3, actually should have been 4. Darren Waller dropped the ball upon a big hit. Look for the big tight end to score first.
Can you just imagine for a second, see it in your head, if Maestro gets in first and he's sitting in the VIP area all by himself, plaid shirt on, trying to figure out how to pop the bottle.
What was that drink from last year? What was the drink?
Manischewitz.
That's what it was.
Yeah. AV, you're up.
All right, so Snake, real quick, pull me back on. Let's do the 6 because I need to see Phil here because he's the one that understands this the most. Whether you played the X position, Y, Z, whatever at wide receiver, there's a universal language that when you come off the line, you throw that hand up on a 9 route. That means throw me the ball, dog, and it's going to Jalen Hyatt. He's going to burn. I'm telling you, he's taking one to the house tonight.
It's called the Moss rule.
Right there.
Randy Moss used to do that, and then if you beat the DB so badly and the quarterback could see it and you were first in the progression, you could throw your hand up. Randy created that.
Yep, 100%. You're going to see it tonight, Jalen Hyatt, plus 2,800. There you go.
It's interesting that you use the word burn because it's going to burn everybody if Phil gets into the club on his second show. Explain yourself, Phil. Explain yourself.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just leaning into the creativity of Brian Daboll. I mean, I remember him from the Buffalo days. I love what he's done with Daniel Jones. I think you get down the red zone, you get yourself in a 2 tight end restricted split. You put some motion in there, quarterback power, quarterback counter. I just think Daboll is one of the best at finding what your front's going to be down in the red zone because you only have 2 or 3 of them and then blocking them up and running the quarterback in, getting the extra blocker with the back.
Yeah, well, with me, it all comes down to the game plan of Mike McCarthy. Back when I was playing for him in 1989, I knew what he was going to do. And on the first drive tonight, He's going to call quarterback up the middle from 8 yards. Dak Prescott, plus 1,500. I love this play, and I couldn't believe, because I always wait till the end. I like to make it more difficult on myself. I like to let everybody else make their picks, and nobody took Dak. Interesting. He's got a giant size chip on his shoulder because he's got a quarterback standing on the sidelines named Trey Lance that he needs to show what's up. And it starts with running for the first touchdown of the
I like it. I like it.
Thank you. You can come back on Monday night. How about that?
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Now we're quickly going to go around and everybody's going to throw out their best bets in about 15 or 20 seconds. You're still going to have time at home to get them in. And then we're all going to enjoy the game, and we're all going to meet at the pay window. See ya. Start us off.
Yeah, give me the Cowboys. I just think they're the superior team. I think the Giants are an emerging team, but they're just not the caliber on either side of the ball. I think Dak is going to be controlled. I think that he has enough weapons to stay sort of inside his frame, stay in control. I don't think he has to do anything wild. And this Cowboys defense is legit.
Berg bets, just so you know, because we put everybody that's on the crew, all their picks up there. He's on the other side. If you want to know why, if you're a SportsLine member, you can go read his article underneath the game, Cowboys and the Giants. Proppy, talk to me.
Yeah, we're going to go Isaiah Hodgins over 30.5 receiving yards. In the second half of the season, he became Daniel Jones's top target. He cleared this in 7 of 8 games that he played with him. There's minimal competition as far as outside wide receivers concerned for this Giants team. I think 30 yards is very obtainable even in a tough matchup.
Joe said in the chat, I've seen Maestro party. He's wild. Wild. Maestro, you're up.
Oh! Sorry,
Oh!
My bad. I'm not used to the prime time, but I did hang out with Joe in Vegas just a few weeks ago. Great guy and his buddy. The Giants gave Daniel Jones all the money in the world, and then they gave him some great weapons. And that's why I like Darius Slayton under 2.5 receptions at plus 125 on BetMGM. Because you've got Darren Waller, you've got Paris Campbell, you've got Hyatt, you've got Hodgins that Prop Stars talked about, and you have Saquon Barkley, who's going to be the focus of the offensive game plan. So go under 2.5 for Slayton.
AB, give it a rip.
Yep. All right. Both quarterbacks throwing picks tonight, Dak Prescott and Daniel Jones. Remember, watch who is throwing over the middle of the field and who doesn't want to be throwing over the middle of the field. That is the deal tonight. Also, Dallas' secondary. Early first quarter, they're going to be jumping routes, trying to pick one off. Watch it. It's going to be fun. Super aggressive. Also take Jalen Hyatt over 19.5 receiving yards and Cowboys-Giants, both teams to score 20 points or more at plus 135.
I love it. And Amax, he's going to be doing NFL for us this fall as well. He's a sharp young kid. We are lucky to have him. He's on Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown plus 100. You can read all of his stuff. Turn on your notifications at SportsLine every time he makes a pick or any of my guys make a pick. Boom. Your phone dings, you can go see what it is if you're a SportsLine member. Now, leave that up, Snake, because you guys know we end every one of our specialty primetime shows asking my guys, what's the number one most important thing they're looking for in the game tonight? Knowledge is power. Use it for tonight or into the future. Counselor, will start with you. What are you looking for?
Sorry, Coach, I got to break the rules because I like the Cowboys. I can't wait to see this division game, but you just mentioned Monday Night Football. I can't wait. We're doing this every single primetime game, and it's only week 1. So you ask me what I'm excited about. Yeah, tonight's game's going to be great. So is tomorrow night. So is next Thursday night, Vikings, Eagles. So is next Sunday night, Monday night, and so on for the next, 25 weeks or so. Let's go.
And BetMGM is going to be riding with us every step of the way. Proppy, what are you looking forward to tonight? What's the number one thing?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing an NFC East showdown between two teams that don't like each other very much. On Dallas' side of things, will this become an up-tempo offense that throws the ball a lot? They certainly have the personnel to. They've been talking about it throughout the offseason. Mike McCarthy, though, notoriously conservative. I want to see this Dallas team be more aggressive, airing the ball out because I think it suits their strengths.
So do I. Maestro, talk to me.
You talked about Mike McCarthy, and to me, that is the biggest concern for the Cowboys because talent-wise, yes, they are clearly superior on both sides of the line, but the coaching edge goes to Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka and their creativity, and now they have some more weapons, and now Daniel Jones is in year 2. I think the Cowboys take the lead. I think the Giants could get the backdoor cover.
Interesting. Okay, AB, how about you?
Yep. So first off, it's all on Dallas' side. Pay attention to what they do on first downs, run or pass. Keep a note of that. Number 2, when they are in 12 personnel, they have 2 tight end sets. Who is protecting and jumping there on the line to help assist Dak Prescott? I'm fascinated because Ezekiel Elliott, man, did a lot of pass protection for him. I'm fascinated to see how they go about protecting him with an offensive line that could be a little banged up.
Phil, bring us home.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know me as an offensive guy. I'm an offensive guy, so I'm going to turn heel on you real quick, Coachman. Dan Quinn, defense. All right. This guy's turned down head coaching interviews all over the league. He plays a cover 3 that relies relentlessly on the pass rush and having good corners. With those types of pass rushers and those corners, I'm thinking that Dan in the weather maestro over there, you can give the super Doppler going in the background, telling me all about that. So the defense is going to reign paramount tonight. I've turned heel. I'm a defensive guy.
It's so funny you mentioned Paramount. You're already a company guy because we're going to be on Paramount Plus before you can say snap. Look at Phil, already teasing ahead. And look at, can you believe we're back? Can you believe this show is back? And look, 6 wide, coming from all angles. That's what we do, but we can't do it without you. So with all that being said, the game starts in just a couple of minutes. I got to go cash some tickets. So there's only one thing left to do. And I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these tickets from BetMGM straight to the pay window. For my entire crew, Lembo, Fizzy, AB, Counselor, Proppy, Maestro, the Snake, always doing work behind the scenes. I am simply the coach, trying to keep this train on said track. We grind for you so we can win with you. It's truly what we're all about. Pay it forward. Be kind. We're back tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, right here. Prime time. Early Edge. Good luck.